Well, hello, my fellow Voice of the Rings members, and a quick little LOTRO Life blog episode for you today. So I want to talk about two fun things. I want to talk about some cool stuff with art that my sister has made for my channel, and I just kind of want to brag about it and show you guys some new stuff because I've got new art for my guide playlists. You might have heard my main playlist stuff content. This isn't my main stuff. This is just my talking blog episode where I tell you fun things. I just want to update my more hardcore fans about some voiceover things too that I've been thinking about that I kind of want to share with you guys. So the thing that so let's go with the voice talking first. So something very interesting about voices, right? So for all of you guys who watch, I haven't done any professional voice acting, right? This is me just starting up with this. I do sing. I do a lot of music stuff, so I do like that kind of stuff. I've got to tell you guys a couple background stories, right, about me, so you can kind of get a gist. I've always been someone who likes to copy sounds for fun and different characters. Now, I've never really done it for people as much as that, like, sound effects, right? So, let's hop back to young little Zollin Ironshield when he was just a wee lad and couldn't pick up a pickaxe yet as a dwarf, right? So, back when I was about 2 years old, my mom used to take me to the zoo. And this is a great story, and you guys will get a kick out of this, okay? So I used to sit there, and she would let me, right? She just let me sit there and listen to the animals, and I would sit there for, like, a long time. Like, we're talking, like, 30 minutes. She said sometimes we'd be there for, like, 2 hours in one area, right? And my little brain, I would listen there, and then I would try to copy the sounds, even then, just for fun, because I was fascinated with the animals, right? So I would try to copy these different animal sounds. And she said one time, she was sitting there, and this other mom was walking by with her kids, and she heard me make almost a perfect identical copy of the sound of whatever animal. I don't remember what animal it was. That's not important to the story. And the mom was like, whoa, that's crazy, right? Like, it's kind of funny, right? With that kind of stuff that I never knew later, it would be something that I would end up, doing more with a fun channel, right? As a hobby. So, again, that was kind of fun, right? So then, later on in my life, when I got older, right? Have you heard the term, guys, bomb noises? Like, as in, not like an actual explosion, but like when your kid's running around, in his imagination when he's 5, 6 years old doing sound effects and pretending like he's battling, right? You see the neighborhood kids, they're playing with swords, pretending like there's a dragon, that kind of thing. Well, I used to do that all the time with Star Wars, right? When I was like 6 years old to 8 years old kind of thing. I would, fly around my Lego making sound effects for it and all kind of stuff like that, right? So there's another sound effect thing, right? You can see, like, over time my building of my vocal cords, right? My ability to know my brain on what to do sounds, right? So I'm just giving you a little fun background. I've been thinking about this last few days. I never really thought about it until just now. The other day I was like, I'll talk about it for fun for a blog episode. And then we go into let's see. And then I started doing more and more sound effects, and then really enjoyed it. And then, and then I get into my older time, right, with going into high school and going into, this is the one I wanted. High school. I started reading different books to my younger sister, right, for fun. And I started doing the voices for characters in the books. Not perfectly, not quite as good as I am now with things. But again, I'd like to point out that I don't consider myself a professional, guys. I have a lot of fun doing this. I love it that you guys love what I'm doing. And I really appreciate it. I definitely have seen a huge advancement just in the last 7 months of my channel, whenever you watch this video. But that's how long the channel's been out at the point of this video. But, like, even now I can see I'm better and better at fluently reading it, fluently doing voiceovers, fluently catching on to things, certain sounds. I want to talk about sounds real quick with one thing. So obviously I've always loved sounds. I've always loved voice things, right? So then I used to read things to where I did Ollivanders and the Wand Maker and all these parts in the books and the Harry Potter books, right? And that was really fun for me, right? It was a hard thing for me too, because I've probably mentioned in the past, I have a little dyslexia, so I'm a little bit of a slower reader, which is why my mom, one of the reasons she let me play Lord of the Rings online a lot when I was in pre-high school, was because she wanted me to advance my reading capabilities, because she knew I needed to read and type to communicate with friends, because back then there was no vocal things besides Discord, which even then I didn't know about. I was pretty young. I was like 10 years old, right? But so those weren't really widely used yet, like Discord and all these other ones are now today. But anyway, moving on, then I go into high school and I start into music. I played the alto saxophone, I started playing horn, I started playing all these different musics, recorder, and then when I was pre-high school, and then I went into saxophone, then I went and learned a little piano, and then I started in community orchestra and all that kind of stuff. So then I get into college, right, and I start doing more stuff with sound. I really enjoyed it. So my 2-year degrees, I have two degrees already in music. I'm doing another thing in music and engineering stuff right now for my other ones. But so I got stuff in music. I did a lot of the choirs, the basic, the advanced choirs, my community choir, my community orchestra, the big symphony at my college and university. Like, I started doing a lot more stuff with sound, right? So then, and I had to do ear training and all these different things to make my sound even get better, you know what I mean? And be able to sing. Because singing is a very different thing than talking in voiceovers. I have to point that out. If you know about it, it's a very different thing. It kind of just comes naturally once you start doing it and practicing it. Not for everybody, but for most people, I would say you could just get it, right? And I really encourage everyone, you can all do singing. If you want to sing in a group, you should try. Don't just say, I can't sing. You just try. Like, no one's gonna... The hardest thing, okay, one of the biggest things, especially with doing my channel voiceovers, is the fact that you have to really put yourself out there, right? You really... Like, for example, when I do a feminine voice for, like, an elf girl or something, it's a little hard for me to do that, to make, like, a woman sound voice, even though it's kind of a fun challenge, right? And I can do higher voices. But, like, I, like, rather do a dwarf voice, right? A really high voice, you know what I mean? Like, on the other side. And, but you just have to put yourself out there and make sure people aren't going to laugh, right? Because it's funny, right? Like, it is funny when you see a big guy do a voice for, like, you're like, sound like a mouse. You're like, what the heck, right? Or vice versa. Someone that really doesn't look like they're going to have a big voice to a really scary dragon voice. You know what I mean? Like, something else. So, that started happening, right? And then I started my channel, and one day I don't know really where it came from. One day I was like, oh, I'll do voiceovers in Lord of the Rings. I'm like, that would be a fun channel to do, right? When all this stuff started with, I was like, okay, I'll start. And now I've really advanced and gone more and more. But because I have my music degrees, I learned a lot about sound, and that's what I want to talk about. I'll make it real simple terms, but that's what I want to talk about. So now you got a whole little background of my life. And I was a lot more shy, let's say. I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert, and you probably would never guess that, right? But I'm the kind of person that after a lot has happened, I have to, like if I'm around a lot of people in person, a big crowd or something, or did something, I really need to be by myself and relax, read a book, chill for an hour or so after, just kind of recharge. Versus where someone who's a social, like, extrovert, they need to be around people to recharge. Like, if they're by themselves a lot, they don't like that, right? That's a personality thing. We're not going to talk about that. But anyway, it's kind of fun. So through high school, I had a lot of friends who really got me more. I wasn't quite as quiet of a person anymore. I was always outspoken, but I was more quiet. I didn't want to do stuff. And also, me performing in orchestras in front of hundreds of people and then singing in front of hundreds of people really got my being able to do stuff in front of people, right? You just can't be afraid that people are going to be upset or mean to you or something. You just can't. Because most people, you have to remember, if you're performing or doing a YouTube video, understand what you're doing, right? They understand you're putting yourself out there. They understand that nothing's going to be perfect. You'll make mistakes. You'll be good. But that's what people like. Or you're a real person, right? That's the whole good thing about it, right? So that's why it's been really fun. The community here has been great. You guys have been fantastic on my channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you for liking, subscribing. It's fantastic. But again, super big. So here's what I'm going to talk about now with sound, okay? So when it comes to sound, there's a few different things we have to think about, right? With voices, right? So your vocal cords vibrate sound through the air, and then your eardrums feel the different vibrations and analyze what those vibrations are to send a signal to your brain to tell you what kind of sound you're hearing. A few different things. Pitch, the timbre of the sound, right? The volume, like how loud it is, the volume. So pitch is going to be the volume up and down. So really high pitch would be really, really squeaky and high, versus a low pitch sound would be really low, right? Like the different pitches, right? And then you're going to have loud and soft, which is obviously makes sense. And then you're also going to have timbre. Now, timbre is a very interesting thing. It's the quality of sound, to simplify it, right? If you have a timbre that's the same as someone else, you might have a similar sounding voice. You might not sound just like them, but a similar sound. For example, with new instruments, let's say the French horn and the alto saxophone, they have a similar timbre, quality of sound, versus a violin and a French horn, right? They're very different sound. You know a string instrument versus a horn. But a French horn versus an alto sax, there's a different timbre still, but it's much closer on the spectrum. Does that make sense? Okay, good. So now my point is with voice, timbre. Okay, so when I'm doing voices, here's the things I have to think about, right? So again, I'm doing it on the spot, right? I'm figuring it out, I'm listening to it and mimicking it, right? But then I have to think about making the timbre. Because there's one thing to do a high voice, but it still might sound like me. Versus changing the timbre, which is a lot harder, to sounding like a completely different person, right? And what you're doing is you're changing, what I have to think about is you're actually changing the overtone series. Now, we're not going to go into that because you're going to be like, with music. But every voice, this is very interesting, every voice has overtones in it. So every voice in the world is unique. Now, isn't that not a cool creation, okay? I find that amazing. Every voice is unique. There will be people that sound similar, but it's because a lot of their overtones are the same. But when you go up in the overtone series, it means kind of like when you drop a pebble in a pond and it makes one big ripple and then makes more ripples, more ripples, more ripples. Same thing with sound and the way it goes through. That's when you have a cold, you'll sound a little different. It's messing up your overtones, so it's bouncing differently, right, through your nasal cavity, because that's a lot of your sound making is through your nose, not just through your mouth, right? And you're up here in the back of your throat and in your nasal cavity. That's where a lot of your quality of sound comes from. That's why when you get a real nasally sounding character, he's probably got, either his passages are closed or he's got allergies, right? That kind of sound effect. So those are the kind of things, but I just find that very interesting. I want to share this with you because I've been thinking about it. I was like, this will be a fun blog episode to make, right? So you guys can kind of hear my thinking patterns. So anyway, timbre. So timbre is hard to match because every voice is unique. So when I'm trying to match a voice, whether it be an elf maiden, a scary undead, a dwarf, a human from Gondor, depending on the voice, there's always going to be a quality that's my voice, right? But I'm manipulating this air and things I'm doing in my mouth and throat, right? Vocal cords, that's all you really can manipulate. You can't manipulate your sinuses, right? They're going to always be the same unless you're stuffed up. You're having allergies, right? That's different. But I'm trying to mimic the sound and then as close as I can match all those overtones of that person's voice. And the pitch, right? So the pitch is real simple. That's obvious, right? Pitch is not a big deal, right? Can you hit the pitch of a high voice? That's the only real criteria, right? Can you hit that really high voice? That's the only criteria you need to do to hit it. Or how low can you go, right? Those are the only criterias that you have for doing up and down, right? Which is amazing why some singers, and by the way, having a low singing voice versus a low voice in reality are different things and high too. Like when I sing, I can almost go higher than I can talk in height. And same thing with singing, I can go a lot lower when I'm singing. The different tone versus just doing the voice low. Like, I can't get it out quite as easy. So that's an interesting thing too when it comes to pitches. But again, timbre, I just find that really interesting and I wanted to share it with you guys and thought it was cool so you guys can think about that. I have a couple music degrees too. If you want me to go into more detail on this, I could. I have a LOTRO song playlist where I teach actual music, but I kind of laid off on that one because it's a little too much work and I don't think enough people enjoyed it. So, but I just thought that was cool. I wanted to talk about that real quick with vocal cords and stuff. So and timbre, that's a really interesting word to remember, timbre. So that's the hard one though. Getting those overtones in someone's timbre is really challenging, and that's what I'd really strive for, and I can tell I'm getting better and better at it, right? Time is everything. Also, you have to have a voice to be able to hit the pitches or be able to manipulate the timbre. But I think most people have pretty amazing voices. They just don't use their built-in instrument right here. You have an instrument, you guys. Your voice is an instrument. Use it, right? So I always encourage everybody. You want to go singing in a community group? Try it. Just do it. Find someone that you know you can trust that can give you some lessons if you're worried about it, and then go for it, right? Singing is not too bad, too, right? Now, of course, reading music is a whole other thing, but still, it's not that hard to read music, too, when you're singing and following along with another choir or something. But, so I don't think you should be too scared of it. That's an encouragement to everyone for music. But, so anyway, I think that's very cool, though, when it comes to timbre, and I think that is something that we should all be thinking about, right? With like our own voices. When you ever want to read to your kids or something, right? But with character voices. But again, then there's also the different quality of timbre. So something again, when I read The Hobbit, okay? So like listen to this voice, right? Now this is singing. Now, like that note. See, you can still tell I'm a different voice. If I really wanted to hit her timbre, I really have to, I'd warm up and stretch my voice to hit those notes. But she has a, right? So I can hit her pitch, but hitting the timbre to make it sound like the same voice, that is the trick, okay? So that's the challenge with doing voiceovers. Now I want to show you one other thing. So this is from a Harry Potter book, right? So this is let's see, the person doing the voices for this, I believe, is Jim Dale. So he's reading the Harry Potter series. Now I want you to find something very interesting. When he reads the books, he has a narrator voice, and then he changes his voice for characters. But surprisingly, he really doesn't change the pitch very much. He just slightly changes his timbre to make it sound like a different character, so you know he's a different character. Now this is a good technique for reading a book. Now for me, I'm trying to take another step further. I'm trying to match the voice and the timbre of that character, right? But just listen to just a little bit of this, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. Right here, please.
Professor McGonagall pulled out a lace handkerchief and dabbed at her eyes beneath her spectacles. Dumbledore gave a great sniff as he took a golden watch from his pocket and examined it.
So that's his announcer voice, right?
It was a very odd watch. It had 12 hands, but no numbers.
Now listen to McGonagall, the way he changes his voice.
It must have made sense.
I listened to these too when I was in high school, so
back in his pocket and said,
maybe that encouraged me to do voiceovers.
I suppose it was he who told you I'd be here, by the way. Yes, said Professor McGonagall, and I don't suppose you're going to tell me why. So
there's another thing. So he did an accent, right? Which I'm trying to mimic the accents of certain characters. So an accent is a whole other thing you do with voiceovers, right? An accent, that's a challenging thing. I've been really working on that, right? Because I've always liked accents since I was young, but that's a hard one to get. So he did an accent, he went a slightly higher voice, and a slightly different timbre in his voice. So now,
you're here of all places.
So you know he's McGonagall.
I've come to bring Harry to his aunt and uncle. They're the only family he has left.
Now listen to Dumbledore.
You don't mean, you can't mean the people who live here? Cried Professor McGonagall, jumping to her feet and pointing at number 4. Dumbledore, you can't. I've been watching them all day. You couldn't find two people who are less like us. And they've got this son. I saw him kicking his mother all the way up the street. It's the best place for him, said Dumbledore. So that's Dumbledore. His aunt and uncle will be able to explain everything to him when he's older. I've written them a letter.
So if you notice, he has it's not a big change in the voice, right? For Dumbledore and for McGonagall, right, from the Harry Potter series. He didn't really change his voice very much. He just changed the timbre slightly. He made Dumbledore sound older, too. He aged the voice sound slightly. But he really just lowered it a tiny bit, and he barely raised his narrative voice to very much the pitch for McGonagall, right? So I just wanted to talk about that. That was the big thing I wanted to show you guys with that. I just think that's very interesting and cool. But I was thinking, too, that probably a lot of inspiration from listening to those when I did the Harry Potter series in high school, because I listened to those a lot. Well, I read along with the book, so I really always loved how he did voiceovers. I thought they were just the absolute coolest. So I really enjoyed that. Let's go back to here with this one. So anyway, that's what I want to talk about with voice stuff. So if you're still here, I really appreciate it. So now I want to show you a little bit of art stuff, okay, that my sister has done. And it's really cool. So as you guys all know, I'm going to pop this up, right? So this is episode 75, but this is my LOTRO tail art, and I want to pop it up a little bit more for you right now. So we're going to go ahead and do this, reverse it, and if you look at it here, look at how much work, like, for one with the characters and stuff. Now, a cool thing, I don't know if you noticed on this, but this front page, my sister, these are images of Gimli's helmet from the movie that I have, the replica. And what she did was she took pictures of it, flipped them, and then drew like on them, right? To make them look like they were drawn, right? With a special technique to make his armor. So that's pretty cool. I thought it's a cool little touch. If you guys never realized that, I want to point that out. And then of course she did all of this art, right? And all the details of this and everything and all that kind of stuff. Make sure that it's not too loud. But really, look at even the mushrooms and all this stuff. And again, it looks more simplistic when you zoom in on them like this, but it's really not. There's so much detail. She did all these flowers individually too, and all this stuff, right? So it's so much work, right? And then when you put it together, it looks fantastic, right? So I can change the episodes. And then our main symbol. I just think that is the coolest, right? It's really awesome. So now let's bring up the symbol. So obviously this is the symbol to my YouTube channel, right? So if you actually look at it really close, how actually super detailed this is, it looks good even zoomed in on. There's even like a shadow and a lifting she did. And this font is not the direct Lord of the Rings copy, obviously, for copyright reasons. This is one she found and looks kind of similar to give it that Tolkienish look. By the way, if you were confused, if you want to know what these are on the top and bottom of my artwork, this is actually Zollin Ironshield. Did you guys know that? Alright, just in Dwarven. Okay, now this is not in Khazdur. Alright, this is translated in the generic version they used in the movies and some of the books more. This is Z. We did a normal Z because it looked better than the Z from the Dwarven runes. The Z from the Dwarven runes looks like a stick figure 3, like a foot, but Zollin, right? So if this was farther up these lines, it would be a G. Yes, I can actually read and write in it pretty good. And then Ironshield, right? So that's pretty cool. And anyway, I love how it's raised and there's shadows. Like, it's so good. Like, you zoom in and it looks so good even really close. That's the best part. But anyway, it's really, really cool. I think she did a really good job. I have a very unique logo that's completely copyrighted from me. Because it was all made perfectly by my own artist. Right? My own sister. And then I'm going to show you the new artwork that will be on all my guide episodes with different titles on it, okay? Are you ready? You ready? Boom! Here it is. My sister drew all this, even the Gandalf. It looks like a Gandalf straight out of, like, my one cousin was laughing because he's like, the Gandalf looks so good, it almost looks like it was put there in the art, right? Because it's like, look at this. Look at how good that is, right? And of course when you zoom in, it's more of a style that she did with it. But she has all sorts of styles of art she's done in the past with things. But it's just so cool, so well done. You can see the little prancing pony sign here that she added at the end. It's a forge. So again, crafting, right? Crafting, guide videos. And Gandalf's kind of the guide, right? In a lot of the stories. So a LOTRO guide, Gandalf. That was the thought pattern I had behind it. But yeah, it's just really cool, right? Fantastic. And she has another full art one that has more of the sky, but this one's designed for being the thumbnail. But just absolutely fantastic. And I just really wanted to show you that. Look at the anvil down here that I was covering. Isn't that just the coolest? Like, I love this so much. It is so cool. But anyway, so I'm stoked. She's going to be doing more art for me with different things. So it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm pretty darn excited about this art. I'm like really excited about this stuff. It really helps to have art for your thumbnails, right? It's a lot more engaging for people when they see a thumbnail. At least for me, when I see one, I'm like, oh, what's that? You know what I mean? I almost look at the art and picture more than I look at the title. You know what I mean? Though again, this will be LOTRO guide, and this will be changed to whatever the down here, the words, the introduction. That'll be changed to whatever it's gonna be for the movie. And I'm gonna go back and put them all in my guide videos. But even for updated ones, you'll see them in the future. So anyway, that was pretty fun. Thanks so much for listening to me. I know this was a good 25 minute episode of a LOTRO Life, but I just want to talk about that with sounds. Remember, guys, that's the kind of stuff that's going through my head, right? Like, I just wanted you guys to kind of know what I'm thinking about when I'm doing these, right? Because I kind of do them off the cuff. Do I plan, by the way, if you're curious, do I plan my episodes? Of course I do. I think about it in my head. Do I write them all down? No, I don't usually. I'm pretty good at improvising, but I do like to have a set idea in my mind of what I'm going to do, because I don't want to just make randomness stuff for you guys, right? I don't want people to be like, oh, that's getting kind of boring, right? I want it to be fun. I want it to be engaging, right? So that's my goal. So now you guys know. If you're my patrons, you probably want to watch this or whatever, or my heavy-duty subscribers who got to the end. I really appreciate it, you guys. You guys all rock a lot. I'm going to pop back over to this one, and I just want to do a quick shout out and thank you to my 2 Patreons right at the end of this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. So anyway, that is thank you so much, you guys. There are different levels, by the way, you guys. I'm kind of thinking, just so you know, for my Patrons too, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to expand this in the future too, make it a little bigger because it's a little too small for my liking. So I will put all your, there's different levels. If you check my Patreon, by the way, just a little quick update on this in the end. If you check it, it tells you what you get, different levels. If you're the full Royal Guard, which is just dark red, I'll say your name every episode, right? But if you are the orange one, I would probably shout your name out the first time you join as a Patreon, but like I did for MrRevel and Rataldo. But I put your name on the thing. And then if the other levels, I will show the different colors below it, Shield Guard and Minor and all these things, the different levels, what you get. You know, one of the lowest levels, you get Discord, by the way, guys. You don't have to be if you just want to join, just to join our Discord for like, I think it's like the $5 one or whatever. But I just wanted to let you guys know that if you're interested. Please don't feel obligated. That's not my goal on this channel at all. I'm not here to just make a ton of money. It would be cool if I was making enough money where I can be making this content for you guys more and more. Because right now I have a lot of free time. So I've been pumping into the channel to give you a lot. But in the future, if I have to get another thing again with all this world stuff passes by, right, with craziness, once I have another job, I might have a lot less time to do stuff. So it'd be cool if I could be doing this, you know, while I'm doing my school and stuff. But anyway, you get the point. So thank you so much to these two. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to, you don't have to join for the bigger amount. You can, but all the amounts from the lower one to the top one give Discord. I think the lowest one doesn't, but that's just like a tip one. But you'd be on here as one of the minors. I would put minors and then how many minors, like the number, so you know you'd be in that amount, right? So that's kind of like the different levels. I had to do different levels some way, right? So you know, bonuses for the different levels, right? So anyway, you guys are fantastic. Thank you so much. Subscribe button's going to pop up right there. Next episode is going to be up there for LOTRO Life, and a LOTRO Tale will be over there on the other side. And you guys are fantastic. Thank you for joining me today. If you watched this whole episode, you're fantastic. Just me talking, and I just kind of want to give my normal subscribers a little info and things on my LOTRO Life blog. All right, you guys, will keep staying tuned for more content, and you're going to see this background here pretty soon on some more LOTRO guide videos. I've got some great ideas for doing more leveling quest guides and different fun things. And then we might also have the geography ones on the LOTRO lore. Well, whenever you see this episode, go check them out. They'll probably be there already. Have a good one. See ya.